So before I start today, I would say because I want to know like how people understand like editorial, just like Sophie I think just said like news article, yes, that's a part. But I think last time I also um talk about like a little bit more. So like the component, the definition, and like the purpose of editorial writing. Yeah, so I think that's basically the third part I brought it up from last class. So can you raise your hand if you came to last class? Like, or do anyone remember any of that? Because if you don't, I think I would go back to go over what we learned last class. Yeah, we have some use and opinion. Um, Wait, so are people like not in class last time, or because if I mean if this is the case, I think I might just
I went to the last class.
okay. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean yes, you were. So okay, I mean I can still go over like the part for people who was not in class. So wait. Technology. Okay, so for last class, first I talked about like what is editorial, and actually before the class, I was asking people to find a new you're interested in and like think of your opinion, and I remember like Ethan like responded. So yeah, but go to the definition. So an editorial is an article that presents a news opinion on an issue. So I would say I wanted to quickly crack this. It doesn't always have to be newspapers. And okay, Ria, yeah. What's your question?
Shouldn't like news be some news? Because like I think like new is not the word for like a single news.
Oh, wait, can you say again? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I think you were correcting the mistake in the slide, right? You mean like a new? Okay, yeah. I mean, I could correct it, but like, I don't think it's. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters that much because it just started from last time. Okay, I will continue. So it reflects like people's opinion, and also I would say editorial writers like build an argument to persuade readers to think the same way they do. Because I think someone came up with a question last time is what if other people disagree with the idea? So what I want to say here is when you write your editorial, I say you definitely stick like with your side and like form your own opinion. So the goal like you need to do is to persuade the readers instead of worrying about like what if they disagree, because if you have valid points and like clear evidence to support, your readers would be able to understand or like also come up with agreements. Also editorial like I mean to influence public opinion, so it promote critical thinking and sometimes cause people to take action on an issue. Yeah, so even though the last sentence said like editorial is an opinionated news story, so I would say like again you can also choose other issues instead of just a single news. So next, it was the purpose of editorial. So it would tackle recent events, issues, and attempts to formulate viewpoints based on an objective analysis of happenings and like or like the conflicting opinions. Yeah. So the videos was really not good. So I mean it's like a little weird. So like I mean I'm just not gonna go over that. But for component, like similar to other essay you wrote, because we have already learned like personal essay like a memoir, right? And also fiction writing. So for editorial, it's like similar, like the structure I would say is close to the one we have learned. So it has introduction, body, and conclusion. So it also has like an objective explanation of the issue. So no matter what you choose to talk about, for example, you choose like a news and you wanted to like have an objective explanation here, which means Oh, wait, so first I want to ask, does anyone like not know what does objective mean? I think people get, okay, yeah, I think people get it. So yeah, so for objective is so you don't like state any of your opinion here because that's just like an explanation of the issue. So you only list out the fact of what happening and like let people know the background information. And for a timely news angle, so I think that's just basically how you pick like the news. So for opinions from the posting viewpoint that refute directly the same issue the writer addresses, it's like a I think it's like a backup paragraph. So you like probably mention like other people's opinion to either like I would say either to like talk about the reason why you do not support or also like strengthen your own point. So the opinion of the writer delivered in a professional manner. So good editorials engage issues, not personalities, and refrain from name calling or other petty tactics of persuasion. So this part is actually a little confusion. So wait, I think I saw something in chat. I would say this just started like, yeah, like not that long, pretty much just started. So I'm just go over like the last class session because when I asked, did anyone remember what from last class? I don't think many people do. So I'm basically just go over the slides from last class. Yeah. Okay, so I think when editorial engage issues is, so you wanted to make like the words or like the sentence you wrote like sounds attractive to the reader. So that's how you want to make them to read your article. The thing was, oh, okay. So that's because you didn't check Google Classroom. So I moved the class to 8 o'clock today. So it was supposed to be 7:30. That's why it would be like 40 minutes. Yeah. So for the Google Classroom announcement, oh, I changed it to 8 p.m. That's why, yeah. Sorry about that. But I mean, you still made it to class, so which is good. I would say as when I back to my home, it will like I will make an announcement to tell people that it will always be at 7:30, so there will not be any change. Okay, I'm gonna continue. So in your editorial, I say it's also important for you to have alternative solutions to the problem or issue being criticized. So anyone can gripe about a problem, but a good editorial should take a proactive approach to make the situation better by using constructive criticism and giving solutions. And finally, it's a solid and concise conclusion that powerfully summarizes the writer's opinion. Give it some punch. So, because if you like talk about a lot of things in your essay, so when your reader like went through everything, it might be possible for them to forget the important points. That's why in the conclusion, you have to like mention your opinion again, and then like remind them of what happened, like the point. So, oh, oh, you mean to where? No, like I'm not like travel. So I'm not traveling to anywhere right now. But right now I'm in North Carolina. Actually no. I mean I was in North Carolina, but now like I went to Tennessee, which is like Vanderbilt. So that's why I have like a time lag, 1 hour behind. Okay, so since I just talked about the proactive approach, I'm just gonna go to the last slide from last class. So different from like just giving a solution. So a proactive approach is any self-initiated action that prepares to handle the future. Proactivity is a considered desirable trait in an employee, team, or organization that can be contrasted with reactive approaches that wait for the future to happen before taking action. And to give an example to make the definition even stronger, I would say so like a student study for a fall semester class during summer vacation, which means acting in advance to deal with some expected change or difficulty. So we can deal with each problem as it pops up, or we can take like a proactive stance and to prevent future problems. So in the editorial, instead of like try to solve the issue as soon as it happened, it's more like to start from a proactive standing point, and then like to prevent problems happen in the future. Yes, Ria.
Your voice is sort of small, but you could also move closer to the mic like that.
You think my voice is small? Okay, I mean, I would say I try to be loud enough, but can anyone else hear me clearly or?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Your volume is perfectly fine.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. Okay, Ria. I mean, I hope that helps because I think that's like my normal talking voice. Okay, so after the review from last class, we can go to today's class. Okay, so it's a quote like I chose from the website when I did the research. Can someone read it for me?
An editorial is a newspaper article that expresses the opinion of the author. It can be about any topic, but is usually written about an issue that deals with our society. To build credibility, the opinion in the editorial must be backed up with facts and evidence to substantiate it.
Yeah, so can someone try to explain like what's your understanding or like how you understand this? So if you have any questions, like feel free to ask, because I think there were like a few vocabulary which might be hard. So does anyone want to volunteer or like just talk about how do you think of this? Yes, Ria.
I think it just says that the editorial is a newspaper article and that also has the opinion of the author, and the opinion needs facts and evidence to like make the public like believe it.
Yeah, so I would say this code is kind of important. It's just as I said like earlier, again and again, that it doesn't always have to be from newspapers. So it actually can be about any topics. It just usually like reading about the issues that deals with our society. Just like I mentioned, you can choose from education or like Korea, like even violence. So however, one more important step is to build credibility, which is to persuade your readers or convince them. What you need to do is like your opinion in the editorial must be backed up with facts, which means so you can say like you either support or not support, like so you just have to give like specific reasons like why would you write this. So when you say back up with facts, I would say the fact is usually like information or like something you found from the website to substantiate, which is like to prove it like to prove it real or like valid. So someone just typed like editorial versus journalism. So is that you want me to talk about the difference between or? Because I mean, I can do that. So since you just brought up editorial with journalism, I have to say it's a good question. So can I try to so I would like to quickly talk about like the difference between the so what's the difference between those two? Because I think it's like pretty similar actually. So I would say there's not like much difference though, because I was just searching on the internet and I found out that editorial is like news based, so like give newspapers opinion on the subject. And for journalism, it's also like, so you report about like new and then like, yeah. Yeah, so like you report the new and then write down the fact. So, however, I think I did find some information about like journalist writing versus editorial writing. So I think for journalism, like the difference would be, so editorial might, so it refers to like a broader topic. However, journalism may be basically like news. So that's how like a journalist do. Wait, Ria, do you have a question? Because I saw you typing. Oh, probably you don't. Then I'm just gonna move on. But you can leave your question in the chat. So since I already talked about like what is editorial, like the purpose of writing, also like the components. So like you already have an idea of like what is it and like how to write it, or like what is a big structure. So now I think it's important for me to talk about like the steps. So first is you choose a topic that's important to you. It's just like the discussion question I asked from last class. I think Ethan like answered one of so Ethan talked about like a new and then like his opinion. So I think when he chose a new, that's like the topic. So he wanted to write. And then like identify the type of editorial you want to write. So I would say for here is I like find like the type of editorial online, so you could get to choose from, because usually it's just the news editorial, I would say. Wait, Ria, what's your question? I'm a little confused because I don't think I include news in this slide, but that's fine if you point it out. So the third one is to form your opinion, and the first one is to find factual support. Okay, then probably, okay, I will correct my mistake. I mean to say news. Um, or my just, I think Ria didn't hear me clearly, but that's fine. Yeah, so the next step is to outline your editorial, and the final step is to start writing. I think I wanted to stop sharing the screen just so I can go to the website. So because the website would help you to get a better idea about like how each steps are working. So for the first one I talk about is that the best topics are current issues in our society that you're passionate about. If the topic is a current issue that everyone is already interested in, then your editorial piece will engage the reader's attention. So from last class, we were talking about that a good editorial engages issues. So I would say a good topic is important. And if the topic you choose is an ongoing issue in society, make sure to use the most recent information. However, you can use older information as sources to help prove your case. So I would say when you choose like the issue to write about, it should be, it's better to be like most recent information. But you can also just cite from like the earlier news. So to prove, yeah, to prove it. And then like is to identify the type of editorial you wanted to write. So I know it was a little confusing when I mentioned it at first, when you didn't have the idea what types I'm talking about. But there are 4 different types of editorial, and each has a specific purpose, and knowing the purpose can help you set up your editorial or like just to choose it. So the first one is I don't even know how. Okay, probably just wait. Does anyone know how to pronounce it, or like can you just read it to for the 4 types of editorial? Okay, if not, I think I would just go on to it. So interpretive, so explain certain rules or why something was done like a specific way. Critical, showcase a problem by criticizing related actions or decision. Persuasive, showcase and endorses a specific solution so readers will be compelled to endorse it as well. And the last one is praising, commend someone or group that for the way they handle a situation or problem. So now here comes. So now here comes the thing like I want to notice is I would prefer you to choose from those 2. So either you can write like a critical to showcase a problem by criticizing, so like give the criticism to a certain action or decision, or like to write a persuasive one. So I would say so for persuasive one, the difference from critical is so you not only like mention like your opinion, so it's more than just criticizing something, but at the same time you provide a specific solution so the readers who read the article will know how to do. So I'm not sure what's happening in the chat, but I think I'm going to bend it because I think people were talking some unrelated stuff. So okay. So next, the third step is form your opinion. So start by deciding your stance on the topic you are choosing. So you cannot be on both sides of the fence for writing an editorial piece. So you cannot be neutral. If you're like clear with what I mean, is because sometimes people would be like, well, I kind of agree, or like I sort of disagree. So this shouldn't happen in the editorial piece because you have to pick a side. And with this in mind, you must feel strongly about your viewpoint and be able to give a strong, persuasive argument in favor of it. So if you don't feel strongly about the topic at hand, reader won't be particularly inclined to see your point of view. And one of the reasons you shouldn't be neutral or both standing on both sides is because the purpose to remember is to persuade your readers and to put them in your shoes. It's more like to make them think the way you are thinking. So yeah. And the first one is to find factual support. So although you're providing the opinion, so you still wanted to back up your argument with facts. Just like the slides talking about how like your opinion should be supported by evidence. So yeah, like to substantiate. Yeah, so use facts that corroborate the point of view you want to argue, and you can include facts pertaining to both sides of the argument. They help you to make your point. So then just like I think so for memoir, I also talk about outline your piece is so the important for writing outline is so you know where you stand on the issues, and the outlines helps you to get your thoughts and opinions in order and keeps you focused on your stance and purpose. So things already know the component. So for editorial outline, you could just include introduction, the hook and lead, body, the opposition stance. So for body part, just like I think when I talk about the opposition view, so if you concern or like confused about like why would you talk about the opposite side, is you basically just mention the opposite side and then like criticize by saying that why the opposition is incorrect. So the third paragraph or like the body paragraph would be the reasons to defend your stance. Yeah. And last is a conclusion, which is like a punch to your summary, and also like a general idea for readers to take away. And then like it's also good for you to provide the solutions. Okay, so last is to write your article. So newspaper editorials should have at least 3 arguments supporting your position, but you don't have to have that much because it's actually up to you. And that argument should be backed up with facts and evidence from your research on the topic. Use statistics to help prove your argument. Make sure your strongest argument is left for last. And do not be passive in the argument that can be for the strongest. So if that happens, readers are not likely to read your entire editorial. So you should be keep in mind that the importance to engage your readers. So I can see I'm running out of time. Okay, yeah, but Ethan, so the thing is, I don't have that much to cover for today. So in the last 8 minutes, I mean, I will finish quickly. So I just wanted to bring you to the New York Times website. So, but just to give an example, like you don't have to like choose your news from New York Times. But since I was in the summer camp with New York Times, and also like I read news from there, like that's how I get information. So I just want to tell people that. So for next class, I'm still thinking like which topics or like which writing we should be focused on. So we may either continue editorial or not. But for today's assignment, since I already finished 2 lessons of editorial, I would like to see some of your work. And the reason I put up New York Times is this is like a really good website. You got to choose the news. Like to write about. So for your editorial piece, I wish you can choose like a news you're interested in. So it can be any of those from different sections, and then like you have your own opinion. However, to support your opinion, you can choose evidence from either the current news like you choose, or also like or even the previous news. It can be historical evidence too, as long as it support your point. I would say like do whatever that is helpful to your editorial article. I will also post the assignment on the Google Classroom so you can know like what to do. And then you get to send to my email, which I would put in the Google Classroom too. In this case, I would be able to review your work and give your suggestions, because I think it would be more helpful to know like where you're at or like how you have learned from the class if I can see your work. So that's a really helpful way for me to evaluate your writing level. Yeah, so to give a simple or like quick example, how would you start is, so for me, if I'm interested about like world, I would click like this section. And then like, so my suggestion is, because editorial I say it's usually good to stay up like, or like to stay like as like probably for a reason. So I think it would be good for you to check the time. So take example, this one is 3 hours ago or like 20 minutes ago. So I would prefer you to choose like the news from this month or like at least this year instead of like 10 years ago or like several years ago. Okay, Rhea, could you please like not drawing on my screen? I mean, I would just, yeah, because I don't want it to ban the annotation when the class almost over. So yeah, but so if you choose this news, like attacks like us Russian troops like in South. So I would say for you to start is you could read over the news and then like think about like your opinion or like or do you support or wait, I don't think that works, so never mind. So like do you support it or not? However, I just want to say, so New York Times, it's just like one resource you can use, but you can choose like from other news website. It's totally fine, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Wait, So like don't annotate if that's like not helpful. So okay, so I think that's good. So for before next class, I think I'm also gonna pose probably a question, even if I'm not sure if I could get a response, but what would be something you're interested to learn? Because my plan would be talk about some writing skills, more like how to make your writing more engaging, since we already talked about different types of articles. So I just wanted to go over some skills that would be helpful to I say. But I might also ask people on Google Classroom. So please like be able to check that and tell me what would you be able to what would you be interested to learn? So that's how I could best help people. But again, just a reminder that no matter how long the editorial is, like it, so you don't have to worry about words counts or like how many pages, or even if several paragraphs would be helpful for me to learn about like, yeah. So I think that's good for today. And I think all of you are free to leave. I will post the homework. If no one has a question, the class is over.
Bye.
Hi, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey Maggie, we don't have any question, right? Because I will post homework on the Google Classroom.